with this month's county board meeting. So, there's a public hearing that's being called before the Kane County Board meeting that'll begin immediately following this. This is the Kane County public hearing, Tuesday, September 10th. It's approximately 10:10. The agenda item is that this is a hearing for the purpose of receiving comment on the proposal to establish the preserve on Crane Road, SSA, or Special Service Area. It's number SW36 of Kane County, and the levy of taxes for purposes of paying the cost of providing special services in and for such area. So that is the item that we gather at this hearing for. I'd like to invite anyone from the public to comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on, again, quote, the reserve on Crane Road, SSA number SW36? If there's anyone who'd like to speak, would you please raise your hand? Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to, well, first of all, we're going to open the hearing, and we'll have a roll call. So I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen? Auger?
Here.
Burrell?
Here.
Castro?
Here.
Davis? Donahue? Here. Ford? Here. Frost? Here. Gillen?
Here.
Heyman?
Here.
Pochette? Here. Kenyon? Here. Derek? Leish? Excuse me. Lewis?
Here.
Molina? Pollock? Here. Sheffro? Silva?
Present.
Silva?
Present.
Excuse me. Smith? Here. Starrett? Taylor?
Here.
Vasquez? Here. Whitney?
Here.
Okay. Again, I'd like to invite anyone from the public to comment on the preserve on Crane Road. Seeing none, I'd like to take a motion to close the hearing. So moved by Mr. Donahue, second by Ms. Lesh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The public hearing is closed. All right. I'd like to call to order the meeting, the county board meeting, September 10th. We'll start with the roll call. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Allen? Auger? Here. Barrero? Castro? Here. Davis? Here. Donahue? Here. Ford? Here. Frost? Here. Gilliam?
Here.
Heyman?
Here.
Pochette?
Here.
Kenyon? Here. Kazar? Here. Leish?
Here.
Lewis? Here. Molina? Pollock? Here. Sheffro? Here. Silva?
Here.
Smith? Here. Starrett? Taylor?
Here.
Vasquez?
Here.
Here. Barrero here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you very much, Mr. Cunningham. I'd like to invite Jaime Gutierrez with FoxValleyVoice.com to come forward to the microphone and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Jaime, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well done. To lead us in prayer this morning, I'd like to call Gil Fonger, who is Markland's President and CEO, to come forward. Would you please rise?
Dear God, we are meeting today to conduct matters of county business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Even though we may very well be of diverse mind, help us to work together for the greater good. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion that is pleasing to you. Thank you for being our supreme source of wisdom and guidance this day and every day. Amen.
Thank you, Gil. Okay, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from August 13th. Could I have a motion and a second? So moved by Mr. Ford, second by Dr. Silva. Any changes, amendments, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. If she would read the resolution, and following that, I'll ask for the motion. Ms. Castro?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm going to actually ask all the Hispanic board members to join me in reading the proclamation. So Ms. Molina will start.
Recognition of September as Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas September is designated as Hispanic Heritage Month, and whereas from the early settlers of the New World to those reaching for the American dream today, Hispanics have shaped and strengthened our country, and
whereas Kane County has remarkable diversity and Hispanics represent a wide range of nationalities and backgrounds, and whereas, like so many citizens, Hispanics have overcome great obstacles to persevere and flourish in every sector of our society, and
whereas, with values of faith, family, hard work, and sacrifice, Hispanics preserve the rich heritage of generations past while contributing to our society for their children, grandchildren, and whereas, as a member of the Armed Forces, historic Hispanic men and women have also fought and died and defended the liberties and the security of the United States in every war since the American Revolution, and
whereas it is desirable and appropriate that we reflect upon the contributions of Hispanic Americans in this country in all aspects of life, and now therefore it be resolved that the Kane County Board wishes to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month and the contributions of Hispanics have made to American society, passed by the County Board on September 10th, 2013.
Muy bien. Muchas gracias.
And I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay, Ms. Castro makes the motion. Who seconds? Dr. Silva. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay, next, Resolution 13257, recognizing October as Home and Community Education Month. I'd like to recognize Ms. Wojnicki to read the resolution and present to Ms. Joan Zeaton. Okay, so Joan, if you'll come forward, and Barb, if you want to step forward, and I'll join you, okay?
sure, over at the podium.
Recognizing October as Home and Community Education Month. Whereas Illinois Association for Home and Community Education was organized under the name Illinois Home Bureau Federation for the purpose of improving rural living and family and community life. And whereas Illinois Association for Home and Community Education was initiated in July 1915, an advisor was hired by the University of Illinois to develop a home improvement association. Kane County joined this University of Illinois Extension program in 1918. And whereas Illinois Association for Home and Community Education evolved from Kane County Home Bureau Federation to Kane County Homemakers Education Association to the 2008 change, Kane County Association for Home and Community Education. And whereas Kane County Association for Home and Community Education is based at the University of Illinois Extension Office, 535 Randall Road, St. Charles. Whereas Kane County Association for Home and Community Education is dedicated to addressing the issues of community outreach, cultural enrichment, family living, international study, public relations, and community involvement for the entire population of Kane County, regardless of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or creed. Now therefore be it resolved that the Kane County Board wishes to recognize October as Home and Community Education Month. Congratulations.
Chairman for this resolution. I work on it every year. One of my hats, I help the publicity person, and the theme of our state organization is the many hats of HCE. So that's why I'm wearing a hat today. I usually don't. After I leave here, I put on another hat. I am the managing secretary of our Kane County Board, which is now meeting, and I should be there, but I'm not. Then after that, I do my work. I then take on another hat as the recording secretary, because she's not there because her husband is ill. So you can see we take on many hats to run our organization. While I was sitting here, I have a question to ask. We put out a newsletter from, Kane County. Would you be interested in getting some?
Yes, of course.
I'm going to tell them today.
Thank you for asking easier questions.
Oh.
I like teachers like that.
The reason why I think we should send you several copies so that you can see what our Kane County does for our community. We have 9 units, and Elgin does a proclamation for me. St. Charles has, Hampshire does almost every year, but we can't get a water. So I'd like to thank you again, and I'd like to ask any members of the audience who'd like to join our association. You can find out where there's a unit in your area, call the extension office, and they'll be able to help you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have petition number 4301, which is a petition for a major amendment to a PUD to allow a fire station at the intersection of Carly Road and Route 31 in St. Charles Township. We do have some speakers who have signed up to speak on this particular issue. I will read their names. I believe they're all proponents of this, and I will ask if they care to make any comments. We have Mr. James Gaffney, who's the president of the Fire Protection District. We have Chief Greg Benson, the fire chief, Kenneth Shepro, attorney for the petitioner, and also here is Mr. Chuck Ingersoll, who is with a homeowners association in the area. At this point, I would just ask if these individuals have statements to make, or if you're just here to answer questions on behalf of the petition.
So who would like to, who's the chair? Okay. Mr. Shepro?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Ken Shepro. I'm the attorney for the district. We don't really have any statement to make other than to thank the staff for moving this at a accelerated pace. And in particular, we'd like to thank Chairman Donahue for his work, our county board members from our districts, and especially I would like to thank Chairman Lausen and State's Attorney McMahon for helping to expedite the permit process. This is a public safety station, and it was critical that we get started as soon as we could, and thanks to your assistance, Mr. Chairman, and State's Attorney and board members, we were able to do that several weeks ago. We do hope your vote will be favorable today, and we're here to answer any questions that you have. Also with us is Chief Benson, our fire chief, and Jim Gaffney, who is our district president.
And Mr. Ingersoll? And so if there are any questions for those three people, thank you, Mr. Shepro, appreciate it.
I would just say Mr. Ingalls is the president of the local community organization, and it's indicative of the support this project has that people actually come out to speak in favor of something as opposed to against it.
Exactly. Go ahead. Mr. Fraz?
I totally support this project 100%. And I do want to applaud the petitioner for involving the community, especially the very close neighbors. In one of the press reports, I did see mention of a lit message board being part of the sign for the fire station. I don't remember that really being discussed, so I would just ask and hope that some of those can be very bright and obnoxious. I hope you'll extend the same courtesies to the neighbors when you pick out the unit that you're going to install.
Yes, it was shown on the plans that were submitted as part of the application, and I'm sure it will be in the best of good taste.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Kenyon?
This is one of those pleasant situations that's a no-brainer. This is going to be nothing but good for the citizens around there. And the fire district will do a better job of taking care of its constituents, and I'm glad you helped them do it, Mr. Chairman.
Well, they did an excellent job of going through. Our staff did a very thorough job, Mr. Donahue. I assume that this would be appropriate time for you to make the motion?
Yes, thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve the petition with the stipulation that the fire district work cooperatively with the St. Charles Township Road District to vacate the right-of-way of the Carl Lee Road Northern Spur, and that's the motion.
Okay, and the second by Mr. Hoshite. Any other thoughts, comments? I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Allen? Auger?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Castro?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Donahue? Yes. Ford?
Yes.
Fraz? Yes. Gillum?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazarick?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
And Winnicki?
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous support. The motion passes. Good. Thank you very much, Mr. Donahue. Next on the agenda, resolutions and ordinances. We'll first go to the consent agenda. Are there any items that should be removed from the consent agenda? Mr. Vasquez?
13266.
13266. Okay. Mr. Pollock?
263.
13263. Okay. Any others? Ms. Barrero?
264.
264. Any others? Seeing none, we'll go to the first one. Mr. Pollock, excuse me?
We're going to motion on the full consent agenda without those items, right?
Oh, exactly. Thank you. So a motion to pass the remaining items of the consent with the exception of 13263, 264, and 266. So moved by Dr. Silva, second by Mr. Hoshite. Thank you very much, John. Let's see, the clerk would call the roll.
Allen? Auger? Barrero?
Yes.
Castro?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Donahue?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Fraz?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Heyman?
Yes.
Hoshite?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazarick?
Yes.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Winnicki?
Yes.
Okay. Those items pass. So, Mr. Pollock, on number 13263.
I'll move that we accept 13263.
So moved, second by Ms. Taylor. Any comments?
Yes,
Mr. Pollack?
I'd like to thank staff on getting this resolution, accepting the grant from DCEO. Co-Chairman Taylor and I were really proud. This is one of the first resolutions to come out of our Jobs Committee. It's accepting $350,000 from the state, particularly in the manufacturing industry, to connect displaced workers in manufacturing with companies that have job vacancies. We've seen, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the state in Kane County. Manufacturing has been hit very hard over the years. Before our committee, we have had manufacturing companies come and say that they have vacancies. They have 25 vacancies they can't fill. Hopefully this is the start of a process where we start to connect those employees who have experience in manufacturing with employers that are specifically looking for those employees. And so thank you for your support.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Pollack. Any further comment? If not, clerk will take the roll.
Allen. Auger.
Yes.
Ferrero.
Yes.
Castro. Davis.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Franz. Yes. Gideon.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Bochet.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Jeffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winnicki.
Yes.
Okay, passes. Next item is 13264. Ms. Barrero?
Yes, I'd like to move 264 forward.
Okay, that's moved by Ms. Barrero, second by Mr. Ford. Comments?
I would.
Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First I'd like to applaud our head judge, Braca, on her efforts on this. There's times when we didn't know how far that was going to get, but I don't think she's in here today, but she really hung in there on following this through. Also, as a new board member, our Commissioner Barrero, because she really stepped forward on following through with this from the beginning up to now. There's some more work that needs to be done, but we have come a long way with this. This is one of those things where, as you are a public servant, that you can actually put your hands on and say, this is for the people, and it's for the least of those who are in need of it. And it really makes me proud to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to going forward with this.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Other comments, questions? Mr. Smith?
One of the issues that came out of this, and I think it's applaudable, is that the program itself will eventually become revenue neutral. So it will be $0 to the taxpayers.
Very important. Other comments, questions? If not, clerk will take the roll.
Allen. Auger. Ferrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Franz.
Yes.
Gideon.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Bochet.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winnicki.
Yes.
Okay, good. Motion passes. Next item is number 13266. We had two people who moved that on to further consideration, Ms. Winnicki and Mr. Vasquez. Who would like to speak first?
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 13266.
Motion made by Mr. Vasquez,
I will
second by Ms.
second.
Woniecki.
And then I will defer. I know that Commissioner Silva knows the family, so I thought it'd be proper for her to read the resolution. Here.
Okay. Dr. Silva?
Good morning. Resolution number 13-266, recognizing Jose Munoz.
Dr. Silva, I apologize for interrupting, but may I call Doug Naughton up, along, most importantly, with the family members who are here today, so that they can come as the resolution is being heard. Doug, would you introduce family members?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the County Board, it's not often, you're going to hear a resolution and it may sound a little trite or preconceived. It's not. We're talking about a good person here. Good people come from good families. And I would like to introduce you to a very good family indeed. The Munoz, Jose's father, Jose Munoz Sr., and his mother, Janie.
Thank you. Dr. Silva?
Recognizing Jose Munoz, a paralegal with the judiciary, for his commitment and outstanding service to the 16th Judicial Circuit, Kane County. Whereas Jose Munoz volunteered as a paralegal intern for Kane County from November 2007 until he was hired in February of 2009. And whereas Jose Munoz worked as a paralegal with the judiciary in Kane County from February 2009 until his sudden and unexpected death on Friday, June 7, 2013. And whereas Jose Munoz showed dedication and hard work daily in the courtrooms and in the training paralegal interns. And whereas Jose Munoz was enthusiastic and always willing to go above and beyond what was asked of him. And whereas Jose Munoz worked with Spanish-speaking victim impact panels and provided valuable resources to the judges presenting the 7 reasons to leave the party school programs. And whereas Jose Munoz was an outstanding employee to Kane County and was awarded the 2010 Kane County Employee of the Year Award for the judiciary. And whereas Jose Munoz was a true asset to the judiciary and the citizens of Kane County. And whereas Jose Munoz's excellent service to the judiciary and the legal community will be greatly missed. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Kane County Board that recognition is given to Jose Munoz for his commitment and outstanding service to Kane County, passed by the Kane County Board on September 10, 2013.
Would you please rise? Mr. and Ms. Munoz, we are very sorry for your family's loss, our county's loss, but we do celebrate your son's life, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I put in front of each of your nameplates the invitation to the dedication ceremony. That will be held on Thursday, September 19th at 4:45 p.m. at the Casa Grow a Healthy Child Garden located immediately behind the courthouse on 3rd Street. So if you can join us, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
Can someone repeat the time, date, location? Oh, Mr. Naughton, could you repeat that again? It's Thursday?
Thursday, September 19th at 4:45 p.m.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, that takes care of the items on the consent agenda taken off for today. We have another, number 13274. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. Let us vote. We have a motion and a second for the resolution recognizing Mr. Munoz. Would the clerk take the roll?
Allen. Yes. Auger.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Donahue. Yes. Ford.
Yes.
Franz. Yes. Gilliam.
Yes.
Heyman. Yes. Poshite.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Winecki.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Number 13274, approving the alteration of speed limit on Main Street Road, Kane County Highway number 10. Could I have a motion? So moved, Ms. Taylor, second by Mr. Vasquez. Who would like to lay this one out? Mr. Franz?
Mr. Chairman, this was item on the transportation agenda that did not land on consent because there was some questions and no votes on it. And this actually is also in my personal county board district. The intersection of Route 47, State Route 47, and Main Street Road, which is a county highway, excuse me, is a four-way intersection. Fisherman's Inn Restaurant would be a good landmark for those of you that don't know the area. The intersection is at the bottom of a hill, so traffic coming from all four directions essentially stops at the white line at the stop sign at the bottom of the hill, and it's uphill in every direction. This is also in the heart of gravel mining country, so we have, I would just take a wild guess, but a third or almost a half of the traffic there is gravel trucks. And the populated areas relatively close to the intersection, I have experienced quite a few comments and calls from people over there asking us to do something about the speed limit. Trucks are braking or accelerating one way or another going by these houses. There's a lot of driveways, again, within a mile or so of the intersection. So we brought forth an amendment, a resolution based on some study and research done by KDOT staff to reduce the speed limit from the current 55 to 50, a 5-mile-per-hour reduction. At the transportation meeting and exec, Mr. Smith and Mr. Donahue expressed some concerns because our original resolution extended this reduction quite a ways to the east, all the way to Bunker Road, which is pretty much a rural highway. So I apologize, I just got this amended version this morning. It's not on your agenda, but we are proposing to amend the original resolution to read from 500 feet west of Lorang Road, that would be west of that intersection, to 500 feet east of Green Road. This draws the reduction quite a bit closer to the intersection and eliminates the unpopulated area with very few driveways in that and keeps that at 55. So I'm hoping this will appease the concerns of Mr. Smith and Mr. Donahue, and I would move this.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Frost, second. Oh, no, excuse me. That was moved by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Vasquez. Okay, comments, questions? Ms. Taylor, and then Mr. Smith.
I would like to echo what Mr. Frost has said. This particular area right here, there's a significant amount of crossover between the semi-traffic, exactly what you were talking about, and there is a high school. That's the road to get to one of the high schools. It is also one of the, actually it is the reason Waubonsee traffic, the community college farther south, there's traffic coming from that, from the youth sector driving in this identical intersection. So I do know in this particular area, an accident is not just a fender bender in this particular area. So I do support this wholeheartedly, and I'm glad it's happening. So.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I think I am the reason that this ended up off this consent agenda. And my concern was exactly which was addressed by staff and Mr. Frost. So I wholeheartedly support this, and I appreciate the fact that the staff listened to one of my suggestions.
That's the only one so far.
Mr. Kenyon?
My farm friends who live over there do not support this. I would say Waubonsee College is about 5 miles south of there, and I know the people object to the engine braking, and the speed limit reduction won't do any good with that. It's just going to catch you when you're on your way home, and just one time that's county sheriff sits over there, and you're going to get a ticket because, heck, you're out here in farm country. There's nobody else around. Why don't I go 55? And you're going to get your ticket. I think it's uncalled for, and further proof of this is the fact that they don't give any statistics on the number of accidents. You haven't been told how many accidents in there. I drove it just this last week, and it's a pleasant drive at 55.
Thank you, Mr. Kenyon. Other thoughts? Mr. Frost?
I'll just address some of those comments. The staff did do traffic studies there, and the prevailing speeds to the west are, this is as measured, 50.5 miles an hour, so just about what we're proposing, and the prevailing speed currently is 52.5 to the east. Again, I just want to reiterate, when a car or multiple cars are stopped at that intersection, they're at the absolute bottom of a hill, and trucks are coming down that hill behind them, and we're just trying to 5 miles an hour, just slow them down a little bit, only on the hill areas, and we've pulled this back probably over a mile from Bunker Road to Green, so I think it's a justified reduction.
Thank you, Mr. Frost. Any other thoughts, Dr. Silva?
Having sat next to Mr. Kenyon in executive, I've heard some real good arguments against this. However, when I'm kind of stuck, I try to defer to the county board member whose district it is, so I will be voting in favor.
Okay. Any last comments? Okay. We have the motion, the second. Clerk will call the roll.
Allen? Auger?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Castro?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Donahue? No. Ford? Yes. Frost?
Yes.
Gilliam?
Yes.
Heyman? O'Shea?
Yes.
Kenyon?
No.
Kazari?
No.
Lash?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Sheffro?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Starrett?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Vasquez? No. Winnicki?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Next item on the agenda is appointments. Before we go into the Metro and RTA, I would like to mention that we have a foreclosure task force that's an advisory group that's being pulled together by Ms. Barrero. Ms. Barrero, would you want to name off the people from both the board and folks who have stepped forward to help on that, just for information purposes? It's not for a confirmation vote. Ms. Barrero?
Sure. I'd like to stress that this is just for information purposes. We have myself, Ron Ford, Josh Beck, Jennifer Leish, Melissa Taylor, Christina Castro, Brian Pollock, Rebecca Gilliam, Dennis Wiggins, Mary Kenny, Kevin Fitzpatrick, Jeff McLaughlin, Tom Rozier, Mary Lou Seidel, Erica Chavez, Dave Rickert, and there'll also be more as we're going along. It's kind of like the names just keep coming up with people with information and leads into helping those in the community. We do have somebody from the State's Attorney's Office. That would be Kathy Watson, and again, there'll be more to follow.
Good. Thank you, Ms. Barrero. Okay, Celeste, would you go ahead and distribute the envelopes? You know, today's task is to name and confirm 2 appointments, both to Metra first and then to RTA. But more importantly, our job is to focus on the real objective, which is to improve regional mass transit. The purpose there is to move people more safely, efficiently, and comfortably, to protect our environment, and to enhance a major economic development engine in the country. We're going to do more than launch 2 routine board appointments. I've selected a team that will work together for public transit reform. My hope is that we will be able to work together to combine research from NIU Graduate School of Public Administration on global mass transit best practices. First, best in the country, then best in the world. From what I understand, Tokyo, Singapore, and also some European systems can help us build what we need to have here in our own backyard. Combine that with effective political action, with energy innovation and integrity. You know, the first step will be to combine thoughts and research that comes from this group with DuPage County, Dan Cronin. Once Kane and DuPage are on board together, I would think that we can expand it to McHenry and Lake County, and it goes to 4. Then Cook County, Tony Preckwinkle has expressed a strong interest in working together. She's also very sensitive to our other partner in this, which is the City of Chicago and Rahm Emanuel. I anticipate that the reform agenda is going to include an ethics component. Aaron Lawler, the chairman of Lake County, has done, I think, groundbreaking work in that area, put together a draft of ethics proposal. Consolidation for efficiency in the reorganization. I think that it's important for us to remember that we need to maintain and strengthen decentralized decision-making. We all need to have a voice and an influence in what happens in this area. We don't want it, some folks say, never let a good crisis go to waste. But that doesn't call for more centralization either in Springfield or in just one component of our region. And then finally, oversight, transparency, all that needs to be coordinated. Before I announce the Metra and RTA appointments, I would like to take a moment to thank Deb Allen. Deb, this is what happens when someone writes a very thorough and thoughtful letter about the kinds of things that we should consider as we go through the selection process. So you landed on the board of 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and I very much appreciate your advice. Drew Fraz, your steady hand, I appreciate your advice on narrowing 41 outstanding candidates, highly competent candidates, to a shorter list of 11. I wanted to thank Brian Pollock and T.R. Smith. You know that this is not an easy process. It's a good process because the choices are so good. Some people say, oh, this is, hard and long-faced. No, it's a happy thing because everyone you choose is going to do a good job for the county. I'd also like to thank the various board members who shared their thoughts in the process. Thank you for the calls and, thinking through this, and I appreciate your advice. Also, citizens who advised what we were going to do. And then finally, most importantly perhaps, the candidates who offered to take the field of public service. I know that it's unusual, but I would like to name an honorable mention of a person before the final 2, and that is a fellow named Glenn Holland. Now, what's interesting about Glenn Holland is that he is going to help us on the team as a volunteer, and where he comes from is Accenture and Deloitte Touche, where he's a CPA, MBA, CISA, Certified Information System Auditor. His strength in this process is at the highest level of one of the finest firms in the world, systems analysis. He goes in to tear apart, in a constructive sense, what's going on in a system, presents it to client, actually is responsible for selling the engagement, managing the work, and then presenting the results. And he has come forward. He's already given us a list or a study. This thing is a study of the 10 best in the world from a private industry research standpoint. And I'm naturally very grateful that someone would take and volunteer their time in the process. So with that, let's first go to the Metra appointment. The number one criteria, I believe, in all of this is trustworthiness, integrity, naturally proven competence, and then relationship building. For that reason, I've selected Manny Barbosa, and I would ask you to support that appointment. He is actually, when you think about a federal bankruptcy judge, and if you know the man and the family, the personification of that trustworthiness, integrity. When someone asks me, well, on the vetting, and we'll get to that later on in the program, you think about what a federal judge has to go through to take the bench as far as an FBI background check. I guess they also pull out the IRS, goes and does a background check. constant assessment by, I don't know if it's Judicial Watch, the lawyers in the room could probably tell me, but the federal judges are held to the strictest standards, also with annual financial statements. Manny, because he served not only as a federal judge for 16 years, but also on the Human Rights Commission for 18 years, where there was no hint, sometimes controversial, never a hint of any scandals. 18 years, many of those years as chairman. He has remained apolitical. He is writing a book, by the way, it's more like an autobiography. It should be very interesting. You know that a federal bankruptcy judge, what they do is they have a 4 to 5 day period of time where smart advisors, lawyers come forward. They present a case that for a company and for individuals is practically life and death, and then needs to come to a decision. Sort through complexity, come to a decision. He is an Elgin resident. He also will bring minority representation from a diverse community that we represent in Kane County. So with that, I'd like to ask for a motion, Ms. Castro and Mr. Smith. So moved by Ms. Castro, seconded by Mr. Smith. Any thoughts, questions? Mr. Kenyon.
I want to congratulate the committee and yourself. This is another no-brainer, my friends. This is an
I like those. I like no-brainers. Good, thanks. Good. Ms. Castro?
Mr. Chairman, I am very pleased. While I know you haven't revealed the second choice, I'm going to make my comments for both. You have two fine choices, and as Mr. Kenyon says, they're no-brainer. I have known Manny Barbosa since I was a small child, and he has done not only a lot, as you've mentioned a little bit of his resume, but he has done a lot for the community that he's been. So he is a most excellent choice. So I thank the committee and everyone that selected him. He is a no-brainer, and I'm happy to support his nomination.
Thank you, Ms. Castro. Mr. Smith?
I'd like to point out that Manny Barbosa was #1 on my list. I'm glad to see that the chairman recognized my pearls of wisdom.
Takes me long enough, doesn't it, TR? Yeah, 2 for 2. Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure if the committee members probably didn't see this on paper, but Manny does have something in his background that goes way back when him and his sister worked as migrant workers in the fields and stuff. There was a time where he was out there playing around with his sister and a box of tomatoes landed on top of her, and the boss called him up, gave him lemonade, and forgot to tell him that his sister was underneath those boxes. That's about the only thing I know that's bad about him. But outside of that, it's a great choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, I ask you to confirm Manny Barbosa as our Kane County representative to Metra. The motion's been made and seconded. The clerk will call the roll.
Allen.
Aye.
Auger.
Yes.
Barrow.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Donahue. Yes. Ford. Yes. Fries.
Yes.
Gillum.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Holscheit.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazari.
Yes.
Leish.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
C. Yes.
Winnicki.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the board for your unanimous support of that appointment. Now over to the RTA. The #1 criteria, in addition to all the other that we talked about on the Metra, is that we need a strong voice for Kane County. We need someone who has been on the front lines as you are every day as an elected official, who understands and then who has demonstrated effective leadership. I have to say that Don DeWitt wrote an effective cover letter that came in with his application. I'd just like to take you through a couple of paragraphs that'll sum it better than I can do it. He said in his letter, as an elected official for the last 20 years and until May 6, 2013, as mayor of the city of St. Charles, I have had the privilege of overseeing a $140 million organization that has consistently received accolades from accounting and engineering associations and academia regarding financial management, infrastructure enhancement, and modernization, and long-term planning and development within our community during one of our country's longest-running economic downturns. This has been accomplished by the implementation of difficult budget decisions, revenue enhancements and stabilization, operational and capital improvement project cost controls, and best practices and procurement processes for goods and services. These measures have all resulted in maintaining flat or declining municipal tax burdens on our residents, have allowed us to maintain and exceed policy mandated corporate fund cash reserves, and have allowed us to improve our financial institution bond ratings during the past 8 years. Don DeWitt has also gained insight and expertise in multi-jurisdictional transportation-related projects involving regional, state, and federal agency cooperation and interaction that have improved the quality of life for Kane County residents through involvement with Kane County Transportation Department, IDOT, and the Federal Highway Administration on projects like Randall Road expansion and modernization, Stearns Road Bridge, recently completed Red Gate Bridge, and even more recently, the ongoing reconstruction of Illinois 64 and Main Street through the east side of St. Charles. Then finally, as past president of Metro West Council of Government, and as a continuing member of that organization as an associate member, I've had the pleasure of developing professional working relationships with many of the mayors, village presidents, city administrators, and city managers throughout Kane County in dealing with county, regional, state, and federal issues that local government must deal with on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So I'm sorry it was a little long, but I think it came to the point and put it together properly. With that, I'd like to ask someone to move the nomination in a second. Mr. Donahue moves, second by Ms. Woniecki.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions? Mr. Kenyon.
And Mr. Chairman, a very fine choice. A man who's served his community and the area very well. And I'm sure he'll represent us to the best of his abilities. Good job.
Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Lewis?
I'd like to congratulate the committee. I think this is an excellent selection. Mayor DeWitt has demonstrated his abilities very effectively in leading the city of St. Charles, and I'm confident that he will do the same on the RTA board. So.
Other comments, questions? Okay. Do you know, if you don't mind, I would like to put on the table one other thing, and that's that, I know almost all the folks who came forward to put their names in, and I hope that I can consider many of them friends. For those who say that Don DeWitt is a political ally, I think that is only one half true. I mean, no one's counting, but, he has supported me in 2 campaigns, and he has supported my opponent, supported my opponent in 2 campaigns. So it's only half true, and I hope it's properly reported, that Don is, the bottom line on Don DeWitt, when you talk about the political side of his life, is that he thinks for himself. So thank you very much for that. Any other thoughts, comments? Mr. Vasquez.
Well, now that you're doing disclosures and stuff, I think we should also add that he works for Wine Surgery, who's also contributed large to your campaign and the Republican Party.
Okay. All full disclosures. By the way, that almost brings us to the final piece, which is going to be local and global vetting. And we'll put all those on the table too. We're in the process of that now. And naturally, all this is conditioned. We do our very best under the time constraints, but I have some thoughts that I'd like to share with you along those lines. So we have a motion and a second. Any other thoughts or comments? Okay, then the clerk will call the roll.
Auger.
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Castro.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Donahue.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fraz.
Yes.
Gidim.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Oshite.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazarek.
Yes.
Lash.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Molina.
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
Sheffro.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Woniecki.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your unanimous support on the appointment. Okay, now we still have more work to do, again, because of the tight time frame, and again, thanks to the advice of many board members, several of the things that we're doing as far as the vetting process. We'll do our best locally, and there are actually people who do this for a living, general counsel at the Regional Transportation Authority and at Metra, but we'll do our best to get all those taken care of. I've asked in writing and received the confirmations back from both of our candidates that they have not worked for Metro or RTA or any of the transit service boards in the last 3 years, and both had not. I ask that each assert that by accepting this appointment and as a condition of the appointment, you agree to do no work for any transit agency for 2 years after time of your appointed service. So no revolving door kind of thing on the ethics side of it. Without disclosing any amounts, naturally as private between their family, God, and the IRS, without disclosing amounts, I asked each to list the sources of their income to demonstrate no conflicts of interest. So there isn't something under. It's far beyond what even our elected officials are required to do in many cases. That they have no other government appointments. They do not. There was a form that I used for Mr. Barbosa, Judge Barbosa. Let's see, that came from Metra and signed off, so we're halfway into a form that gave his consent to criminal and credit background checks, and then the form that the RTA uses was given to Mr. DeWitt and returned, so that consent was given. And then I'll also do the research as far as any campaign contributions. I believe that the answer is no major campaign contributions from either or interested parties, but we'll take a harder, closer look. So with that, that's about it on the appointments. Any other thoughts, comments? Okay. Okay, then back to the agenda. Okay, there's no need for executive session today. Are there any speakers on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll just go for a motion to adjourn. Oh, excuse me, Mr. Heyman.
Motion adjourned.
Oh, I knew that. Mr. Heyman makes the motion to adjourn. The second, Ms. Sterrett. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it.